Well, hello everybody. How you doing today? It's your boy Jedi Granville. Welcome back to Jedi Granville Productions. And here with me to discuss a particular film, I got Mr. Kevin Lambert from the entertainment headquarters, Big Dog here. And
Yo,
below us, we have Mr. Jake Hall, the Kaiju Enigma. He's definitely a mystery. We know this already. But but we're going to have a good time here because we're going to be discussing a kind of an infamous film that almost lost in obscurity for some reason. I don't know how that happened, but I guess that's happened with any kind of film that's notorious for what it is. And the film we're going to be discussing is The Whale God. Oh my goodness! We're going to be discussing this particular film. It's a kaiju film. Well, I can't even say it's a kaiju type. It's a kaiju type film, but it's not necessarily kaiju related in terms of what we're discussing because it's basically, in fact, I'll keep kind of a synopsis of it right here, where it's called in Japanese. And forgive me if I butchered the name here and everything. Kujiro Gama, which was released in '62, also known as the Whale God or Killer Whale. It is a Japanese tokusatsu film directed by Takaso Tanaka, based on a novel by Shiro Uno, and often compared to Moby Dick. It tells the story of a
mhm.
Japanese fishing village terrorized by Japanese fishing. Now, man, you got me. Okay, tells a story of a Japanese fishing village terrorized by a giant godlike whale, focused on a man's quest for a revenge that consumes the community, blending period drama, folklore, and monster movie elements. And it also says the film is noted for striking black and white cinematography, strong
Yeah.
performances, and blend of human drama with kaiju giant monster themes. So this does fit in the realm of tokusatsu kaiju films. But the thing about it is, if you
Well,
watch
it's
it,
classed as a not a kaiju film. It's classed as a megafauna film,
yes,
which is like
because
giant like animal movie. And this was before Gamera.
mhm,
It was like the first time Daiei had attempted to do like a giant creature feature
yes,
before Gamera.
mhm. This was their first trip into that, and I feel they did pretty well with it. Because as I say, Mr. Lambert suggested this film, and I've heard of this film, but I didn't know exactly, where and how was I going to talk about, and that's the thing about this film. You don't know if it's. Why am I hearing echoes? Okay. Anyway, the bottom line is this film is a very unique film, like so many of the other films from this genre, and back then. So before we get more into the meat and potatoes of it, when was your first introduction to the Whale God, Mister Kevin Lambert?
I heard about this a few years ago. I think I didn't even know this film existed till up to about 2, 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was about 2, 3 years ago that it was announced that this was a film that basically it was lost. It was lost for many, many years. It was all of like the copies of this version of the movie from Daiei somehow were lost. I don't know if it was through like a studio fire or misplacement or damaged reels. I don't know the ins and outs of how this was a lost film. But then many many years ago, suddenly Daiei found a copy of like a film reel of the Whale God,
Very
and
preserved.
then of course decided to remaster it. Then it was only about 2 or 3 years ago it was re-released on DVD or Blu-ray, and then it finally made its way over here to the West,
Right.
and had seen it advertised originally on like one of the Godzilla community pages or the Kaiju community pages, and then I had never have access to it. And so eventually then today I finally got to see it because it's now available on Tuesday.
Yes.
My first inkling, obviously seeing it and hearing about it, reading the first mind goes, oh, a giant whale guy, a kaiju whale movie. That's the first thing you think of.
Right.
And then when you finally get to see it on the screen, you realize it's a lot deeper than that. It's more inherent to the tale of Moby Dick. It's definitely like influenced by that story, except to do it in like, you know, the Eastern, the Japanese style, and they changed the story slightly, and it's more of a period piece drama, as it. But
Yes.
I still enjoyed it for what it was, because watching the movie, I didn't know how I was going to take it, but then I generally got into the characters, and I generally got into like what they were trying to tell on screen. So I was quite impressed for my first viewing of The Whale God.
Okay. Jake, your first interpretation of this film we first saw.
Well, the first time I heard of it was when SRS announced that they were releasing this.
Right.
And I was kind of, it's like, ooh, the Will God. I was kind of hesitant if I wanted to get it or not. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a whirl. So I ordered it from the website. It was released in 2023 on Blu-ray and DVD. This film was made in 1962, so that was 3 years before Gamera.
Yes.
And when I first watched it, it was very unique that it started out with the action at the beginning of the film, and then as it progresses, you get to learn the characters, you get the story line. Like it, this was a very unique film and a good interpretation of Moby Dick.
Yeah.
But with a different type of whale, which it was an interesting whale choice for them to pick.
Which is what this is. It's a North Pacific right whale. That's what they use.
Yeah, and for the puppetry of how they created that thing, I mean, I was like, wow, that's pretty good. But yeah, that was my first introduction, and how I first came about was when I bought that, and it was the first time I watched it. So
yeah, the puppetry in this is it's classic, you know, classic tokusatsu puppetry and magnette work with the amazing, like, you know, and you need to remember, because it was done on a soundstage, they did have to build like a giant prop of a whale. So you can imagine the size of the aqua prop for the human actors to be able to climb on and to be a part of. And then, you know, there was probably other elements where they used like not you know, where they did like shots where they had like the magnette of the head of the wheel, and they would have like taken a shot of it on its own, but then they obviously, you know, upscaled it and then placed the actors in the background on like and had that picture, you know, how they did things back then. But still, I was quite impressed with the design and the look, especially for like its time.
Right. I mean, because see, this is what I love about this movie is the fact that it could have been shot in color, but I'm glad they went the black and white route, because let's be honest, when you watched it, you really see the mechanisms of humanity, how it breaks down, and how the madness corrupts them, you know, because this particular beast, because it's like, why are you letting something that's it's of of just actual nature thwart your mind, you know, if you think about it, because that's basically what the themes of this film is. It says the themes here are like quick where's it at?
And what I find funny is when I first watched it, I didn't realize it had the professor gentleman from
Yes,
Monsters.
I can't.
I was like, wow, they got him from the Godzilla films.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and he is also the guy from the Seven Samurai.
Yeah, he is. Oh, surely.
Yeah,
Yes, he is from the. See, he's what's his name? You know what? I'm gonna say.
his name is Takashi Shimu. His name is Takashi Shimura,
Thank you.
and
Someone could say it better than me.
he was in Rashomon, he was in Ikiru, he was in the Seven Samurai, he was in Godzilla, he was in Godzilla Raids Again. So he's very,
Well
he's very
known.
well known within the world of tokusatsu and kaiju
Yeah.
film genre, as well as period piece dramas. So, especially with the Seven Samurai, which he did an amazing job in that with. The fact that he's a part of this, and this is like a mixture of both those genres of kaiju and period piece kind of drama,
Right.
he feels right at home in this, and it feels like a natural fit for him.
Well, and see, the story sets in like early 1800s, late 1900s, something like that. And like I say, fishing. Fishing and whaling is nothing new to the Japanese. That's something that they do to survive, And that's kind of the thing that they're taken aback by, because the average size, when you think about it, the average size of this whale, the actual size is way smaller than what you see on the screen. The actual size of the the North Pacific right whale is only like 20 meters long. This thing is like 30 meters long, which is almost 100 feet long if you don't know how to do the math on that. But it's crazy, And like I say, the themes of this movie is talking about revenge, fate, tradition, humanity versus nature, morality, and general conflict, which we'll get into because let's be honest, it's amazing that at the beginning we know what happens, but it's funny how the interactions with different people is astonishing, knowing that you're allowing something that's God made to affect your brains, and it's like the whole village is getting affected by this. It's crazy, But we're gonna get into it in a minute. So that being said, what was your first? Well, like I say, we just kind of discussed when your first time seeing it, but what was your first thought process when you first saw this? I'll start with Jake.
Well, when I first saw this, I was like, oh, so we kind of got the Moby Dick vibe. We got a guy that's kind of being like Ahab and all that. And when I saw the beginning of this, I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. And you don't hardly see the whale hardly doing nothing because of how the puppetry is, but it does some damage, but it's just like, and you see everyone kind of falling off, and then as you lead down to the village of where, I don't remember the name of the village, but they start their next challenge, and the elder Weller, which was the guy from Godzilla, he basically was making kind of like Ahab with like a dollar coin or something. He's like, whoever can bring me the nose of this whale god, not only will they inherit everything that I own, but they will marry my daughter. And I was like, okay, you're willing to go that low to sacrifice your own daughter?
I was about to say the word sacrifice, not free. It's like sacrifice. Yes.
I was sitting here thinking, wait a minute, and it's funny because it's the daughter who we've all seen before in Gamera versus Barugon.
Yes.
Which, oddly enough, there's also two other characters. You got the main one who basically is literally obsessed and won't think about anything, nor marriage, nor anything. All he can think about is, oh, I gotta get the well good. I gotta get the well good. Like literally seething at the mouth, where you can tell he doesn't get much sleep because he's got dark circles around his
Right.
eyes. And then you're introduced to this outsider who will participate, and he gets mischievous
Yeah.
as well.
So you've got Kojiro Hongo, who plays Shakai, who is the lead. Who he started off wanting to be a doctor and leave the island, but they said, "How dare you leave the island? Because you have to defeat the whale god." So that's one character. The visitor who comes to town, he is played by Shintaro Katsu, and that is Kishu.
Kishu, yes.
And then you have Shiho Fujiruma. I probably butchered that. She plays E, who is the girl who gets pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have Kyoko Inami, who plays Toyo, who is the daughter who you've mentioned. And then Shikara Hashimoto. And he is the man who, I believe he plays like, the one that he fights him. He's like the drunk, the crazy man.
Yeah.
But about him, he didn't start off as an actor. He was a Japanese, I believe, baseball player, and he had part roles in different movies. And obviously, he was like an older gentleman, and he thought, "Oh, I'm going to give acting a go." And he had bits of parts in different movies throughout the later times of his life. And I have to say, for being like the drunk, the drunk guy in the village, I thought he was very good as an actor. I thought he was brilliant.
And let's kind of break that down, because, like I said, at the beginning, we find, we see the beginning of what the story takes place. We see these whalers, try to take the whale god down, but unfortunately, the whale god pretty much thrusts them. And as we mentioned before, the effects in here are pretty well done. And let's be honest, the cinematography, black and white or color wise, the framing of this movie is beautiful. I mean, people, I don't know, maybe I don't know how generations now think, but for me, if you shoot a picture right, if you shoot it in a good light, it doesn't matter what color it, what base of film stock you use. You film it right, it's going to look good. And this one does do the job in terms of tone and how it's projecting the island, the people, and whatnot. So we see at the beginning that the whale guy pretty much kills certain people of Shikai's family. His father, then his grandfather, then his father. And I want to point out this before we go any further. Notice that not only are the men unhinged, but notice that the females, the women, are just as unhinged in the story, because
it's because they go through grief.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it, so the village, like you said, it's set in the early Meiji era, and it's Hirado Island is the name of the island. So Hirado Island and the Hirado villagers, they've got this obsession with killing this whale, Moby Dick, Abraham, who was obsessed with the island. But the great thing, as you've brought up, Walter, which is the extra element that you don't really get in the original Moby Dick story that I know of. I've never actually read the book, but what I know of, the women don't become obsessed with also trying to defeat the whale. Yes. And for me, you brought up a good point about them being just as obsessed with trying to hunt down this whale, but their motivations, I think, are very different to the men, because the men's all about, masculinity, one-upping each other. Well, if I kill the male, I'm the top dog of the village kind of thing. But with the women, they're pushing the men to go forward to defeat this whale, to avenge other, members of the family that's died. So their obsession and motivations for killing the whale are very different to the men. The men's like it's masculinity, it's about one-upmanship, it's sportsmanship, it's rivalry. But with the women, it's grief, it's anger, it's wanting this thing to just go away, wanting for all so they can raise the families in peace. And that's the difference between the men and the women in the village, I found.
And I want to bring that point out real quick. One particular character, female character, says it bluntly: "If you kill the whale god, I will sleep with you. I will definitely give you some." I was like, "Wow, you're not even holding back, saying that you're giving up your whole entire demeanor just so some guy can kill you and you can give him some good stuff." It's like, really? I mean, that's how you live. You have you have literally leveled yourself to the point of like, just like the father offering the sacrifice of his daughter to the men if they kill the. I'm like, wow, it's a mind fuck to the degree of showing how
it's desperation.
The desperation. I guess that's what. I think that's what it comes down to, because how you allowing this particular creature to blind you into that kind of obsession, because it's amazing that you are gone that far down the road, the rabbit hole of obsession. And like I say, all the people. In fact, we'll take it one step further. After the situation with Shakai and others, there's a moment where we talk about, like you mentioned, masculinity.
Mm-hmm.
There's a moment where, look, and I've experienced this myself. This is what's so fucked up about this. I've experienced where someone's trying to pick a fight with you. This guy is kind of an older guy, more pudgy kind of looking guy. He picks a fight with one of the fishermen, and I'm just like, why are you so inept in pushing? I mean, wanting to fight? It's like, you mean to tell me y'all that on edge? It's like, I gotta work off. It's almost like a Fight Club moment. It's like, I gotta beat somebody up, to kind of work off this energy. But it's like, what are you doing? I mean, why are you fighting one against another just to get over on this? And it's funny, throughout the picture, you see guys fighting one another over dumb shit. And like, dude, whoever kills the damn whale guy, you're probably gonna die anyway too. So why you fight one another?
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
If you go back to the plot, you've got Shankai, who is the guy who doesn't want anything to do with the politics or the obsession of killing the whale god. He has good intentions to leave the village to become a doctor. Yeah. But then he gets dragged into it because they're like, you can't leave the village. His mother's like, you'll bring shame on the family if you don't follow through and do what the rest of the men in the village do, which is to hunt the whale god. And he's the only one that sees like the negativity of it all, like the obsessionics and how it's controlling their lives and that they don't have minds of their own. And then he goes, he ends up having to like give up his dreams to like be a part of this ruckus of trying to find and kill the whale god. Then you have obviously the stranger that comes to town who becomes his rival, and he's a bit unhinged because I think the impression I got is because he drinks too much, he's loud, he keeps himself to himself, but he's come from another village, and I feel like in the village he was at, his life wasn't going great. He might have had dreams and ambitions in this other village, but because it hasn't worked out, he thinks, well, if I kill the whale god, I can make my dreams come true. So one doesn't want to be a part of it, and the other one's like has no choice or feels he has no choice to be a part of it because it's the only way he's going to get fortune. It's the only way he's going to get women. But then he's aggressive. He's, you have the drunken bum in the bar who he has that brawl with. It's the first brawl. And that's quite a brutal brawl. The scenes and the fighting in that scene were quite brutal, especially when he had him on the floor and he like, you had the stick on fire and he was like basically poking him in the face, and then he tipped his beer on his face. And you know what I really love about this movie is the cinematography. Is when they did that particular scene, you seen that it was quite brutal. You heard the noises, the fighting, the groaning, in the combativeness between the two of them. But then what happened to when he had him on the floor, you had that particular scene where the camera was looking up. So it looked like you were looking down. So the camera was looking up and you were the actor and the character looking down on the person. And it kind of like in just the facial expressions, it's just, I just think the acting was brilliant in this movie. And that particular character who we've talked about, who's the one who had the bar fight, who was called Kishu, he ends up then forming a rivalry with Shakai. And he even pushed Shakai to have a fight with him, and he chose not to have a fight with him. And throughout the course of the film, he keeps fighting other people because he can't have a fight with Shakai. But because eventually we do see near the end of the film, they do finally have like a fight where it becomes a draw. But because Shakai's finally like, oh fuck it, I've got, I'm at the end of my tether. I'm just gonna go for it, and they have this fight which ends in a draw.
Right, and that's the thing I had to say about that fight between him and Shakai. It's like we see the one earlier, it was brutal, but this one is just, and it's makes me think to myself, the actors did their own stunts in this particular film. And usually you see the in Chinese filmmaking, they usually do their own stunts, but I'm thinking that they did their own stunts here because the way they were being tossed around, the way they were being, grabbed and everything, and the way they were, and I love the moment where it's almost, it gives you kind of a real feel moment where you see splashes of water hit the camera lens, and it's like you're there, it's like the audience is there. That point of view is like shattered in a way. It's like, yes, you're involved in this fight when you're up close with these people, and that shows right there. This is a more personal aspect of how people are going through things. And I say a lot of these characters are very, as I say again, unhinged, but at the same time, there's people of some level-headedness to some degree, but not a whole lot, But to kind of get that mindset going, after the older Whaler, offers his lands, his daughter, sacrificing his daughter is crazy. We go into something that I'm trying to remember exactly what happens after that. Let me kick it off to you, Jake, because I'm trying to remember. I'm thinking,
well,
not with the bar fight, but it's something after that takes place.
Okay, well, after that, you see Shakai kind of walking down, and then he hears his name being called, and it's E, who has a love interest with Shakai, but Shakai doesn't want to be involved because his grandmother basically told him to not come back home until he has killed the well god, which is like, okay. And because of that, she's trying to profess her love, and he is in love with her, but he doesn't want to get involved right now because he's trying to get, well, as he goes away, what was his name, Kevin? Shaku? The stranger.
His name, Kishu.
Kishu, thank you.
So his name is Shakai, and the one who becomes his rival is Shiku. And the girl is called, I said her name, was it
E? E. That's her name. Well, he grabs E and then basically rapes her, pretty much, and gets her pregnant. And
can I just say, though, one thing I noticed about this particular film, when the acting, the period piece, and the drama and all that, is there's some real strong moments in this movie, and the rape scene's very strong. The fact that, because obviously Kishu is now Shakai's rival, for some reason he doesn't like Shakai, so Kishu you know, because I don't know if he thinks because he's come from this village and he's desperate to make himself something or someone, and Shakai is so laid back that he doesn't give a shit. He's basically forcing himself to do this whale god thing to please his family.
Yeah.
Because he really wants to be a doctor, where the other one, he really wants to gain the fame and the fortune and the glory. And because he has this heated rivalry, he doesn't realise that who he's knocked back, who, you know, Shakai's knocked back, he doesn't realise there's nothing between them. And I think in his mind he goes, I'm going to take his woman. Or I'm going to take something I'm going to take her innocence so that Shakai can't take her innocence. I'm going to do it, but he does it forcefully on the beach, and he takes her to the rock area, and you don't obviously see the rape, but you see the build up to the rape. And I think the acting in the drama and the uncomfortableness was there, and it really helped tell this story. And for me, it was shocking. I wasn't expecting that in a film called The Whale God,
which is what I was thinking too. I mean, I'll get back to you, Jake. No, I thought that brutality of knowing that the build up, you don't have to see, as you say, you don't have to see the actual, event take place. The act, yes, you don't have to see that, but the build up to that is like, because the way he picks her up and kind of like, whoa, dude. I mean, this is a woman. This is a fragile creature here. You're treating her like she's one of the guys or some kind of way, and it's like, it's so, and like you say, the acting in here is more than what I was expecting for a film like this. It's just like, that's just crazy. But go ahead, Jake. Tell me what the.
So after that, trying to remember, I think Shakai ends up going to another village. I think he ends up going to another village, and he confronts this elder gentleman who was kicked out of the village because of how everyone felt about the whale god. Well, as he returns, he finds E laying down, and basically she tells him that she's in labor, and basically tells him to go get some hot water and stuff. Well, he does what you didn't have to, but he did it anyway. He told everyone that it was his kid, which he kind of knew it wasn't already, which we'll get into in just a few moments. But so she gives birth to a bouncing baby boy, and they baptize him, make sure he becomes a good whaler, like everyone else. And he actually goes to the elder whaler who's offering his daughter, pretty much. Sacrifice.
She doesn't want to marry him. She couldn't give a shit about him.
No.
I'm doing this to please me father, that kind of thing. It's like one of those false arranged marriage situations.
Yeah. And he explains to him all that has transpired and stuff, and he's like, okay, get out. Yeah. And after that, they see Kiku, or I always have trouble. Like you, Walter, I'm having trouble pronouncing.
the older whalers, the Toyo.
No, the stranger that came.
Oh, Kishu. I mean,
that's Kishu.
Yeah,
so Shakai's like the hero of the piece, and Shiku's like, he's like the villain, but he's like the second main lead.
Yeah,
he's more of an I feel like this. I think he's more of an anti-protagonist because he's not. I mean, he did a very gratuitous deed, but.
Well, I'll have a lot to say about this when I get to the end.
Okay. But before you go and continue on, I want to bring up some things that really need to be touched on. And then you brought this up. It's funny that you mentioned how there's a priest, and the priest, funny enough, not so much funny, but I feel that maybe that's accurate too. It's a Caucasian priest, because he's someone who deals with Christianity. Side note: Christianity is in the Asiatic countries, but you'd be surprised how little it is in like China or Japan or anything. Sometimes it's like 1 or 3%. So at this point, there's actually someone there who's presenting the actual notion of not Buddhism, but actually Christianity. So I wanted to point that out, and also bring out Toyo, the daughter of the older whaler. It's funny because she seems like more of a side character or whatever, but you see in that moment, and this is why it's so gratifying to see this kind of arc with some people, because you think like it's not going to happen. You see when she asks Shikai, it's like, so you decide to marry this woman, you decide to say that's your child. It's like, you're not going to even try to benefit with marrying me. It's like why? I mean, it's like you didn't want to get married to begin with. So it's like, where is the logic of? And this is where it makes you think to yourself. It's like it's like she's already locked in with the notion that whoever kills the whale god, she's going to be offered up to them regardless. But the second she tells this to Shikai, it's like he's kind of confused, because I'm kind of confused myself. But then you think about it, it's like that almost seems like I don't want to say natural feminine reaction, because we see that kind of nowadays, like women give this thought process on one thing, but then it's like they totally shifted from another, and it's like, oh wow, I wouldn't think that women's thinking was like that even then. You think it would be more, okay, once it's locked in, it's locked in. But she goes directly to Shikai about this. She's like, because she asked him, like, do you hate me or something? It's like, no, I don't hate you. I don't hate it. But then she tells him, like, well, I hate you. It's like, okay. I'm like, why are you hating me when I haven't even done anything, And I guess that's
because she felt. Are you talking about when it's revealed he's with E and the baby?
Yeah.
It's because she feels humiliated, because even though she doesn't want to marry him and she doesn't want to really be involved, there's still like this pretend where they're all going to get married and she's happy with the marriage, and that it's all like about status. It's like, I guess it's basically, like the royal family in Britain. Like how, for example, Prince Charles, who's now King Charles, he always loved Camilla, who's now the Queen. But he wanted to marry her, but he wasn't allowed to marry her because she was a divorcee. So years have gone by. The whole tragedy with Diana happened. I think he got with Diana to please the higher ups in Buckingham Palace and, the family, because it was to keep the status of what the royals are. But years have gone by, and now he was finally allowed to marry the woman he really loved, which is Camilla. And I feel when it comes to her, Toyo, in the show, in the film, even though she doesn't want it, because she's prideful about the commitment of the family, that your dad's the elder, they've got a certain reputation to keep within the foundations of the village. If it gets out that her husband has now got a child with a woman off the streets, what does that do to her reputation? And what does that do to her status in the village as the daughter of the elder, and her soon-to-be husband, who she's to marry, has a child with some woman off the streets? It's all to do with reputation. It's all to do with setting and status, and that's why she feels humiliated.
This is, and I think you brought something up with the English, situation of arranged marriage. Like, this is the thing that I look at too when I look at a film like this, and just in general, humanization of people they're going on with tradition. Tradition is what breaks them down and kind of makes them say, okay, I'm going to go with this and this is what I'm going to do. But we're overlooking the grand thing of when it comes to people in general. You're still human.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you allowing tradition? I mean, I'm not going against tradition. I mean, if tradition kind of keeps it in a balance with what you're doing, okay, fine. But
You
you're
can
kind of robbing
keep,
yourself.
yeah, you can still keep within the foundations of the tradition, but sometimes the walls have to, be lowered and make certain changes. But as long as them changes are still respectable, for example, going back to the royal family,
Yeah.
you had Harry marry Meghan, and there's all like in the UK, there's always this half and half. Some people like her, some people don't like her. Some people
Right.
think you use the royal family to get status and all of this stuff. There's all this stuff that goes on. But many, many years ago, he probably would never have ever been able to marry Meghan or even be allowed to date her for the fact that she herself is a pre-married woman. Because back in the day, there was this thing where basically it's like what I said to you before about the woman who was desperate in the village, who was throwing herself at the man saying, I'll sleep with you if you see the wheel.
Right.
I'll become yours. She was willing to give up her innocence. Even in the royal family year ago, many, many years ago, it was seen that a royal had to marry a woman who hadn't been married before, but was also from a family with privilege. Where now, if you look at the Harry and the Meghan stuff, she had already been married before, and she was a television actress. She didn't come really from a prestige family.
Yeah.
So it was like some people were for it because it was like, yes, it's not tradition, but he's in love and he's happy. He's not forced himself to be unhappy. But then on the other side, you've got all the other people who are like, he's not sticking to tradition. He's not marrying a woman who hasn't been married and isn't, and who has, prestige and status already. So, but then the walls have come down where he never met the same kind of stuff that Prince Charles, who's now King Charles, had, who eventually, after many, many years, is he being able to marry the love of his life, which is Camilla.
And I had to ask this. You just brought up status and everything. Is that the reason? Because I never even bothered to, ask the question. Because to me, I saw the actual wedding of Charles and Diana many moons ago. In fact, I think it was like In fact, I think it's coming up 45 years ago when it took place live on television. What was the reason behind it? Because she came from a prestigious family. Why they married?
Diana's family were already noble, well-known family. They had status. They had businesses. They were well-known. The family in the people behind, like who run Buckingham Palace, who run like the royal estates. There's like a committee there as well. They thought she was a perfect fit, but Charles did meet Diana and did think she was a lovely woman, but I don't think he was in love with her. And I feel like that whole surround was them being forced together to produce heirs for the throne.
One of the reasons why.
Where none of the put it this way. If Diana had, if Charles was allowed to marry Camilla when he really loved her, Diana would still be alive today. Yes, she wouldn't have been the queen or the princess of hearts as she's known, but she would probably still be alive today.
Because I was going to say,
there's always that question mark: was it an accident or was she bumped off?
Because I was going to say the politics comes into play with these things, and that's why I feel like she wasn't political. But once she married into a family, it's like now she's part of that elite. It's like, oh, okay, she's part of that.
And there was this thing back in the day where it had to be a white person that a person married. You couldn't have an interracial marriage. It had to be from somebody with nobility or from the UK.
Right.
And so obviously this is another reason a lot of people think Diana was, it was an assassination. That's one of the rumors, not a tragic accident, because she was dating him who owned Harrods is the department store's son, Dodi Fayed's son, and he was a Muslim. So if you think about it, if they got together, they got married, and she had a child, which would be Harry and William's half sibling, it would be an interracial child. It would be like tainting the royal blood in their opinion.
I was going to say it would be a disgrace to that bloodline.
So that's why, was it an accident or was it an assassination? Well, till the end of time will be the debate.
Yes, and that's the thing. That's the thing right there, knowing that is the combination of why certain traditions are there. But like here with Shikai, and then Toyo mentioning, why don't you do these things? But I mean, I had to ask that question because it seems so like you would be happy that you're not going to be involved with this. He's already married with somebody, but again, this is what leads to so many things. And I think that, again, how in this movie, how tradition, and it actually brings up something about toxic masculinity, how certain things blind you, or you're so enveloped with something that you feel like, okay, you're only human, but you should not let the so-called tradition or whatever blind you from being human. But I guess this is how it is right here, and that's the thing you don't see, which is amazing. How you can take a certain story and make it more than what is under the veil, because when you remove that veil, it's like, oh, this is what was underneath here.
You also need to remember this is a Japanese film. In Japan, it's a different culture, it's a different region of the world, it's a different way of life. And they are very big on tradition and honor and respect. And maybe that's another huge part of this plot, is she felt disrespected. The tradition was breaking, and if you humiliated me because you're going against, basically the oaths or the agreement you set with my father. Even though she doesn't want to marry him, she was willing to go through the marriage to keep the honor of the family, to keep the nobility of the family, and to keep the tradition, and to keep, because they believe it, like I say, in respect, and it's a disrespectful thing.
But that's a tall tale of knowing that tradition, it's like, and as I said again, it's something to keep the balance in a way, But I guess in a way that's, and then you say Japan is very known for that, and I gotta say, I would never shun nobody who's from that region to just discard that, because, like I say, to me, I feel like that's the only way you can keep some kind of sanity in a way.
Yeah.
Look at the status of the island. It's like everyone's insane, women and children. I mean, not the children, but the men too, so it's like it there. But anyway, we're getting to the heart of the story, because, like I say, we've seen this massive whale, but after all this, with and then we mentioned about the fight between Shikai and Kizu, we've seen a very brutal fight. Now we come to the moment where it's like, okay, the movie's called The Whale God. Where's the freaking whale god at? It's like we've only seen him for a few minutes, and then it's like the whole shebang is about this human interaction, which I feel, that's why I said again, draw it back to that, I did not expect. But again, I'm glad it did, because it lets me break down that the whale god, or basically any kaiju that we see that came out of Japan anyway, is nothing more than a representation of what humans are, who really are in nature. They're animalistic. They're very, tyrant, but they're very like they go against the basic instincts of saying use logic, not savagery. And we see that in this movie. It's like these people are very savage, trying to get the kill the god through, honor, grief and whatever. So, Jake, kind of get this ball rolling with where we're going with them going out to try to kill the whale god.
Bring her home, Jake. Bring her home.
All right, I'll do my best. Okay, so after the two rivals fight on the beach, they each stand up and they're like, "I'll see you on sea tomorrow."
Mhm.
So everyone starts doing their little ritual dance, singing "Hutta hutta hey, hutta 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 hey, hee ha," or whatever it is, and they end up going out to sea, and Saki is with the Elder Weller, and the other one's on a different boat. And the whale god appears with the net on it still and all that. And they're throwing the harpoons left and right, left and right. Well, as you can see there.
Yeah.
And I still trying to figure out if that's a tongue or if it's supposed to be
I'm not.
something.
I'm not even gonna go there. What I think.
Look, we can interpret it, but that's
It was interesting. But anyway, so Suki jumps into the water first and heads towards the whale god, starts climbing, and then just starts stabbing it in certain points of it. And
it's kind of it's this is like I said, this is a puppet, but it's all done in a tank, and and that's a miniature version of him, just doing that. It's like
that'd be Saki on top. But
Kishu actually, or what could be it could be
well, no, Kishu is on the side right there. But
he's right
as he's stabbing each one, the whale god ends up going under the sea and then coming back up, and he's still hanging on it, still got, and starts doing it again and again and again, keeps stabbing it, and then finally he basically ends up drowning pretty much because he can't catch his breath and all that. And then the elder was like, "Go now, Saki." So Saki goes all the way on top of the well, takes this big ass knife and just starts stabbing it in the blowhole, oddly enough, and keeps stabbing it. Even when the whale goes under, he still somehow manages to hang on, and basically kills the whale god. Or so they think. Wow. So they are back in the village. Saki somehow survived, but he has a broken leg, broken arm. He can't hardly move. And pretty much the elder's like telling him, "Hey, you're fixing to inherit all my..." And he's like, "I don't care about that. Take me to the whale god." And they end up going and doing what he wishes. And then you just see the head of the whale god. And as they set him down, Saki asks them to please leave me alone. But he didn't leave because it was eating her alive, saying, "Okay, bad guy or neutral guy, whatever his name." I'm just going to call him neutral guy.
Okay.
Basically, she tells him that he raped her and it's his child. And Saki's just like, "I already knew." And she's like, "But how?" Because of how he acted when he went to go attack the whale god. And then after that, he pretty much tells, let me be. And then he goes through this whole monologue saying how he is and all that. And he's like, "I think I am now becoming the whale god. I think I am becoming the whale god." And then you see the whale god swimming off into the sea. And that's how it ends.
This is where you realize that this whole village has been driven to the point of madness, to insanity, and Sakai is no different. He is literally come to the point where he so-called dies, but in his mind, because he keeps saying, I am the whale god. I am the whale god. I was like, what part of your brain has been raped with this thought process that you have become the thing that you've killed? And I want to bring up too, this is something that needs to be brought up. This is one of those films where I wish I had heard before the score by Kira Fube.
Mm-hmm.
It is so haunting.
You can actually see here some of the hints and the influences for the Godzilla soundtracks.
Mm-hmm. Because I don't guess I was gonna say, could you kind of get a like a twinge or some sounds of other kaiju films, previously and
definitely.
And that's Kafube's specialty. He can make something original, but he still kind of incorporate other things into, because believe it or not, the score for Varan is almost a stepping stone to Idra's actual theme, if you think about it. But I mean, no one would really say it because that's Varan's own theme, but the theme for Ghidra is a little bit more robust, more thought out, and more in there.
Yeah.
But anyway,
if you think about it, when it comes to Varan himself, and I can understand why our good friend, the Professor Daniel Miller, loves the Varan film. This, the film never really gets its praise. It never gets a lot. It's never really brought up in conversation. Varan, I think, is a unique looking kaiju, but when you look at the film itself, the score that Ikefumi made for that particular film, it's a score that was constantly reused, or a score that was constantly had influenced the rest of the Godzilla scores throughout the run of the Godzilla movies. And, he started off with that score for Varan, and it's such an influential score. But nobody ever brings up, they love the music from the Godzilla films, or they love the fact that some of the scores were reused from film to film, but they never bring up the original film that it came from, and that was Varan.
And what's really interesting too is Varan was actually supposed to be a TV show instead of a movie, but they decided to make it a movie instead of a TV show.
Yep.
And that's kind of sad knowing that it didn't leave, but I'm kind of glad that it didn't go that route, because I mean, to see it on the big screen when it's especially when it's flying and going to the air, it's like you can't really capture that on television, although you could, but it wouldn't be as dramatic, I feel like. But go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
But I will say this, speaking of television shows, sorry, it's been out for 2 weeks now. The end of Monarch Legacy of Monsters Season 2, where we're reintroduced to a kaiju we all know and love. This would be the perfect time to bring back Varan, his arrival.
That's what I'm saying. See, Varan has had so many options, and people could have put him into so many things, and the only thing they gave him was a short moment in Destroy All Monsters, and I'm just like, okay, that's not really giving him no bead on his presence. I mean, you see him, but it's like that's it. You just see him. He doesn't do anything.
Well, but you also get him in the comic books and the Godzilla Unleashed video games. So they're showing him love, but not in the film, which they should. Because honestly,
like who are frightened to pull the trigger on certain
exactly
kaijus, because that's why they stick to the top 5, because they're the money makers. That's fair enough. They're the money makers, but you can try and make the other kaiju money makers if you give them a fair shot, and it's not just about the actual kaiju, it's about the story that you tell the kaiju. So if you can come up with a really compelling, interesting story, and then you can fit that kaiju into that story, no matter who the kaiju is. It doesn't matter who the kaiju is. If they make him cool enough and it fits the story they're telling, people will flock to see it.
I mean, it won't be
You know, and it also, as you mentioned, Jake, I have the Godzilla Battlegrounds game on my phone.
Yeah.
And for Varan's one of the stronger characters in the game. He's one of the stronger pieces you can pick up and use on
Oh
on the
wow.
battlefield. So there you go.
See, but that's the thing about the whale god. I mean, the whole issue of knowing that there's special things in this film, and I want to share something here. This is because I try to find some behind the scenes of this film, but this is all I could find. This is the large head prop that they built for the film. For the end of it, we see where we see the eye. That's the thing about this film. We see the eye for a second or for a few minutes in the water, but here when we see it on land, you see the eye open, and it's like, Shakai pretty much says, you're dead, you're gone, you're done for, But it's kind of funny. I guess that kind of warrants how the documentation of these films, and like this one in particular, you don't find too many references about it behind the scenes because maybe during the time of its release, it didn't get as much love as it should have. I mean, even though this was Daiei's first entry into kaiju territory, somewhere along the lines just faded into obscurity almost. Thank God it got, rehashed and someone found a copy that was very good condition and we got to see it. But as far as documentation of it, I guess somewhere along the line that really got lost because there are so many, studios who have behind the scenes of different, films of that time, but some of them are just like, let's say, it just lost.
But,
it just,
but
I guess
one thing I see is with the image that you bring up, it went back to what I said at the stream. If when I said, no matter what people can see, positive or negative, you've got to respect the heart. You've got to respect, the craftsmanship of what went into the movie. And I did see there was that particular scene where you seen the prop of the giant head, and he was in the casket next to it. And I didn't know if that was something that like how, like for example, in the early era of the Godzilla films, like for example, Mothra. You had the image of the giant egg, and you knew that was a giant painting on the screen, and then they kind of photoshopped the people into the shot with the painting of the Mothra egg. This was an actual head prop they built, and you've showed it on screen. Now, people can say what they want, but I will respect anybody that puts the heart and the soul into the craftsmanship of making a film. Even films I think suck and cannot stand. I don't give a shit. I might not like the film, but I will not disrespect the film makers.
Yes.
Because it's not their fault if the film doesn't go well. They put the heart and soul into, the props, into the costuming, into the lighting, into the sound, into building the set, breaking down the sets, sweeping the floor when all the filament's done, whatever it is. They put the heart and soul in it, and you have to respect the craftsmanship. And so that image you showed just how much they put into this film, despite whether it did well or didn't do well. Look at those people on that photo that are busting their ass to get this prop onto the set. Or if this was after the film was filmed, just putting it back into storage, whatever it may be. Look at them all working tirelessly to make it happen.
That's what it. That's manpower. That's the average person back then and should be now. But unfortunately, we already know the depth of most of this stuff. But the craftsmanship is there. The hard work, blood, sweat, and tears is there. We see it there in that picture. We see it knowing that they really put their effort into. And the thing about this film, most of this, in fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, all of this was done in camera. There was no compositing whatsoever. It was all done practically, no composite. It was like, shoot it, film it, it's in a can, we're done. That's what this, and that's the thing. That's one thing I could say I love about films like this. Like, you take what techniques you have, and run with it. And if you give a good visual, which they do in this, I have to say again, they do give good visuals in this picture. You will be surprised what the response from the people who watch it. And I know for me, I told you before, I didn't expect, the kind of picture I was going to get. I mean, I think in my back of my mind, I'm thinking like we're going to see more of the whale god, but it's like, okay, that's okay, but at the same time, it's like, what do the human characters bring to the table when you watch this? And as it turns out, they bring a whole lot more than what I was expecting. And to me, I find that more enriching than just, okay, we're going to see a big whale. That's it. Here we're seeing the demonstration of the deterioration of the mentality of individuals possessed in a way by their own, thought process trying to kill this thing. So I mean, I just love that. But no, but like I say, we come to the end of this. We discussed that and everything. So we'll give our ratings on this film and give you an overall thought about this film in terms of knowing that it almost became a lost treasure, almost lost period. But starting with you, Kevin.
Well, I was going to say before you come to me, look at your messages. I sent you 2 images.
Okay, hold up.
Because for me to talk about my final thought and my rating, I want to bring up a couple of points.
All right.
So if you could show them pictures on the screen.
Oh yes. Whoa! Wait a minute. Okay.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
In fact, let me hold up. Let me kind of do this. I'm going to. Yes.
So you were brought up there. He is, right, before you turn to the other image. So that gentleman, that is Kojiro. He is the lead actor in The Whale God. So he plays Shakai. So Shakai, for me, reminds me very much of the lead actor from Godzilla -1.
Yes.
Right.
So
now I can see
the reason
that.
I wanted to bring that up is one of the points I'm going to bring up about this particular film is the acting and the overall story. So the story itself I found very compelling. It's basically a story of masculinity. It's about obsessiveness. It's about kind of being, lost with your obsession of attaining a certain goal, whether it's achievable or not, and not knowing when to, not cross the line, and to be able to pull back and go, right, I might not be able to achieve this goal, but I can achieve other goals and not become obsessed with stuff. And for me, that actor there, the lead actor, was fantastic.
Yes.
And there were scenes with him that just blew me. Like the scenes in the coffin, there's a certain scene where he's at the end in the coffin and the camera's on his head and he's talking. I loved it. The certain, aspects of his character as he's talking, as he's talking in his story arc, I was really compelled by him. The fact he was a man who wanted to be a doctor, to become a doctor, to then get dragged into a situation he didn't want to become in, and then he himself, by the end of the film, was just as obsessed, just as corrupted as the rest of the people in the village.
Right.
And I love those aspects of the character. Now I'm going to go to the character of Kisu, who was played by Shintaro Katsu. So he starts off as his rival, this unknown person who comes to the village. A lot of you can see he's an anti-hero. I just think he's a man that's lost his way, went too dark. The fact that he raped He raped E,
Yeah.
and he did it. And then by the back end of the movie, we now have to be pushed to forgive him. And that's the only negative of this film I do not like.
Because I've mentioned before, yes, he did a heinous, extremely heinous thing, but he does get some kind of, it's not so much a redemption. He's, I feel that he was deserved, knowing that I did a wrong. I want to hopefully has forgiveness for it, and I feel that that's his story arc. It's like, yeah, he's seemed like a lost sheep in many ways, in which I was bringing up before about Christianity in this film, because Christianity in a way is all about how, and I don't want to get too into the religion, because I know people who are watching probably not necessarily into that, but the simple fact is talking about how Jesus helps to be, he's a shepherd trying to take care of the flock, and hopefully not one gets lost, which is what Kishu was kind of that. He was a lost sheep, and he did some of the things of man. He did things, that were bad, and he did something that was very horrific. But in the end, somehow his was a way of showing that, yes, not so much deserved, but it was something needed.
Me personally, this is just my take on it. Is they brought him in as a character who did a lost soul from the village that's trying to find his fortune, find a way to become noble, or find a purpose. But then for me, he turned into the villagers where he became too obsessed with it that he had the fight with that drunken villager, and then he became the rival, and then he did what he did to E. Once he did what he did to E, for me that was the point where he couldn't go back. And he knew he'd done something so heinous that fair enough, if he beats somebody up, you can maybe forgive him, but you can't forgive somebody who rapes another human being.
No, I'm getting. And that's the thing about me. I'm totally, I don't care what you do. It's like when you do that, when you violate someone, that's yeah.
But going back to where I was heading, so he does that. Then he gets onto the wheel and he hits the vulnerable points. And even though he knows he's gonna die, he did it to weaken the wheel so that Sakai can kill him in the end, because he knows it. Basically, to kill a whale that big, it's more than a one-man job. You would have to do a team effort, and that's one thing you never actually see in the film. Is you don't see them working as a team to take on the whale, to beat the whale. It's always right. He's died. You jump in the water, it's your turn to die and take on the wheel. You don't actually see them, right? If you go on your two boats on that side of the wheel, we go on our boats on this side, and we'll come into the middle and attack it from the side together. Your team and my team would probably beat the wheel, but obviously that's to whatever. So then he finally beats the wheel, and this is my biggest pet. This is my biggest negative about the film. The fact that Sakai sits there on the beach and he says, basically, this isn't your child. I was raped. Oh, I know you were raped, and I know who raped you, but I'm okay with it. That is my biggest pet peeve. And my biggest pet peeve is when he turns around and he says you need to forgive him. You need to forgive for being raped. Over what? And that for me is where the film kind of lost me at the end. And I've got to say in my head, is he saying that because he's succumbing to the madness and he's just now turning as corrupt as everybody else? Because it makes no sense why it's up to the person themselves who are involved in the rape, if they choose to forgive it's up to the victim to forgive the person that committed the crime. That's up to them. Nobody should be telling you to forgive them. It's up to you yourself. And I just found that that took me out of the plot, and that's my only pet peeve, and that's the thing that I hated about this at the end. But the reason I wanted to show the actors, the two actors from -1, and of course the Whale God, not only do they look similar, I've been looking into the actor who is the lead in it, and obviously he starred in the Gamera films. He's also a very well-known and very respectable actor, and I generally feel his portrayal in this movie could have been an influence to the actor in -1 and his portrayal of his character.
That's not too far fetched because let's be honest. I mean, a lot of the films of Showa era, even the Heisei's, you see a lot of that in the -1 a little bit. You know, even if it's from Daiei or Toei, you know, it's like you see a little bit of those character influences in that. You know, it's like I can honestly say I can kind of see that. You know? I mean, I guess you have to kind of open, or as I tell anyone, push your blind eye, and you can kind of see those things there. You know? And,
so Ryusuke Kamiki, who plays Koshi in -1, is a fantastic actor, and I think if -0 does just as big, and he is seen, I could see him breaking Hollywood. He's that good.
I'm going to say this, and I'm going to get political real quick, real now, because I can do that. I feel like if this movie does what it should, which I feel it will, does not so much money wise, but I'm talking about performance wise. If Hollywood does not recognize this man's skills like he did previously, I'm like, Hollywood, I'm done with you, because I mean I was already done with you before, but you really let me know right now, y'all do not give a flying fuck about good performances. Y'all all about, let's say, well, we'll put this person in here, he or she gets an Oscar nomination, that's who we go. Give it to the people, or at least nominate the people who do believable performances, please. Okay, I'm just saying.
So yeah, but I think Ryusuke, I say his name right, Ryusuke Kamiki is a fantastic actor, and I think Kojiro Hongo, who's no longer with us, was a fantastic actor in this film. I did not like his character arc at the end of the film, but what I'm going to say finally, the story was really compelling. It's not about the whale god, it's about the character. It's a story, it's a character driven story. It's a film that has so many things that you could study about human behavior. It's fantastic. And I really, for my first time screening, I was really fully drawn in. I really enjoyed it. And if I'm gonna rate it, I'm gonna give it a strong 8 out of 10.
Well, hey, that's fair. I mean, like I say, certain things will take it back, and it's unfortunate that certain things like that will take you out of it. But again, it does make up for the strong performances from the other characters that we see. So, with that being said, Jake, what's your overall thought and rating for this film?
I definitely love the story aspect. It was kind of a blend of Moby Dick mixed in with, like Kevin said, the mental aspect and all that. Enjoyed the characters like him. I enjoyed Saki's character. He was good. Kind of like him. I thought the ending was very strange and all that. But for me and my rating, just like Kevin, 8 out of 10.
Okay. That's well, that's kind of me. I mean, because I'm about to give my rating and talk all. I mean, that's it is, like I say, it's dark. It's a dark side of human nature. You know, I mean, Kevin pretty much brought this up. It is the duality of man and how, you know, we as human beings, we want to see ourselves in a positive light. We do. We want to see ourselves in something that we do all the time, every day. But the reality, this is what's so funny. this is a fantasy film, but it's actually shown. The fantasy is we being normal or civilized. We're seeing the animalistic of our so-called selves, the side that we don't want to show, we don't want to portray, but unfortunately, and I feel that that's something about the Japanese cinema does so well, showing the animalistic nature of human beings. I mean, they have such a tradition of, being, this and that and whatever, but they're so good at showing that human beings, we could be some very effed up kind of creatures. We are some of the most like, ooh, beyond what anything that animals come before us, But the bottom line is this film is a mixture of the things that you expect in a film like this. That's a Tokusatsu film. You have a blend of the kaiju, you have a blend of what is being portrayed, and but the whole story arc is that human beings are what they are. I mean, no matter what. I mean, whether it be the so-called innocent one or the more belligerent or the one that just doesn't know what it really wants, what it is, or what you allow yourself to be blinded by. But I love it for that, and knowing that in my first viewing of it, it's very top tier filmmaking. I mean, I feel what saves it the most is not just the cinematography, not the music, not the few scenes of the whale god. It's the acting, as Kevin mentioned. The acting is very strong in this picture. I love how they're portrayed, and I love how that you don't lose no sense of interest watching it. That's the thing about it, because I know I've seen many films like this before, and it's like, oh, okay, this is boring, and this film is not that long. It's a bit of a it's less than
I think this would have been a film I would have switched off and not stayed with if the acting wasn't so good.
yes.
It's the performance from the actors and like the emotion that they show. Like even like when every time you see the male villagers in the bar and they're drunk and the arguing, well, I'm gonna be the one that slays the whale god, and even the women like the grandmother or his mother, who there's that particular scene where she's talking to the villagers and she goes, to revenge your father, your grandfather, and I will not rest till the whale god is killed myself and all this, and she's encouraging her sons, her grandsons, whoever, to face off against the whale. Even her performance was fantastic.
Right. Because I mean, before I give my rating, you notice how the women, like, because I mentioned before the women how they acted, but the older women, notice how in cinema, especially Japanese cinema, you notice how female characters, when they get really express something, their voices get really guttural, very low, very. It's like that shows that they're determined. They're very much vocal in expressing what they're saying, what they're feeling. So it lets you know right there that these characters are, just like hands down all important all around, and they're not there just for show. They're there to let you know that yes, these are the reasons why we're watching. We're showing it like they're not filler. They're honing in to let you know like this is how serious it really is. Because usually female characters, they're side, they're there, they're there for whatever, but they're important. And thankfully, these characters, the female characters, are very. So with the rating, because like I said, I mentioned the film is very well done. I'm gonna go with you, Kevin. I'm gonna give it a 8.5 myself, because for a first time viewing of this film, it's yeah, I mean, it's surprisingly amazing. It's surprisingly how you would think that. I don't think I'll be okay. I mean, it's something you'll watch, but as you mentioned, the acting, and I have to say this too. I have to point this out. This is for a mature individual watching this, because if you're a child, like say maybe 10 or 11, whatever, you want to see all the kaiju action coming up, but it's like you'll probably get lost if you like, oh, I don't want to see all these people talking. I mean, get to the good stuff. It's like, no, we as adults, we need that to feed our brains when we see in a picture like this. We need something where strong characters tell us the story that we're watching, to feed us the narrative of what's going on. Because I mentioned before, a certain character said, "I'll give up my, well-being if you kill the whale god." You see people, fighting among one another, doing all these things. It shows the brutality, and to me, because I know if I saw this when I was like, say, 10 or 11 years old, I think I would have lost interest like real quick. But thankfully, as an adult, as I've gotten older, my mind hungers for those things. I need those recommendations of good acting and everything to tell the story.
I would say if you are a fan of The Seven Samurai, if you're a fan of the original Gojira 1954, which, yes, it's a kaiju film, but it's also quite a dark film with some really strong messages. The Whale God is in a similar tone of them two films, so it's a hybrid of both. So I would say it's a hybrid of them two films because it's a period
piece,
back in that century. But then it also does have a little bit of the kaiju action, and it's also in many ways like -1, that it's not about, yes, Godzilla, he's the title, he's in the movie, but if you took Godzilla out of the film and made it just an interesting, like a post-war movie, you would have still been brought in because of the acting, because of the style, because of the characters and the story they were telling. And I feel as if The Whale God is a mixture of -1, 1954, in The Seven Samurai, in that vein. It's a period piece character story, and it's got some very strong messages hidden within the plot.
Very much so. That's a good point, brother. I mean, I guess I could say, if you're not someone who can see between the lines of certain films like this, you're just expecting certain. It's like, well, then you're cheating yourself in a way, because you're not seeing something that's more prevalent to you, or the presentation. And trust me, for me, I'm glad that you suggested this film to me, because I would never have known that all this was going down in this picture, and knowing that what I saw was there. It's like, I thank you again for that. Appreciate that, But with that being said, we've pretty much come with a roundup of that. And to kind of get this out of the way, I know, Jake, you don't have anything in particular, but do you have anything that you're going to be involved with as far as, channel wise, or anything like that you have coming up?
I know I'm going to be involved with Kevin on the next Kaiju Connections, Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. And believe it or not, I'm actually going to try to get involved with Kronos, because I just recently watched the film on YouTube.
Oh,
Nice.
Okay.
So, and it was unique. I'll say that.
Okay.
And then, I'm always, whenever y'all have something good, I'll try to be involved.
Well, I've always said Jake has an open visit on the entertainment headquarters. He's always welcome on any stream. He's always fun. He's a good guy. So he's always welcome to anything that I put together. And all he's got to say is, can I be a part of that one? And he's there. The same with you, Walter, my brother.
There you go. Well, what you got coming up? I know. Well, that's that's beating the dead horse. You got plenty coming up on your channel. I know that.
So coming up this week, I know tomorrow I am going to the theaters to see Mortal Kombat 2. So expect my review of that particular film. Then on the 13th, me and DJ Anubis and Anthony Jordan are getting together for the next Into the Darkness franchise discussion, and we're talking about the Hostel film trilogy. And then after that, I do believe on the, I think it's this, yes, it's either the Friday or the Saturday. I can't remember. Me and I think it's the 16th on the Saturday. So on the 16th,
Yeah, that's right. The 16th.
yeah, on the 16th, I am going to be doing my first ever live building stream. So what I'm attempting to do is I am going to attempt to build the DeLorean. That's right, not the real DeLorean, because I can't build that in 2 hours.
Well, like I say, you don't have a flux capacitor, so I mean that'll be impossible.
So I'm going to be attempting to build. I bought a model kit a few months back, and so I'm going to be building that. I also have coming up with DJ Anubis, my host, on the Retro Classic Movie Show. We're going to be talking about Steven Seagal's only watchable film, Under Siege.
That's worth watching.
Yes, and I'm going to get with Jake when the stream's over, because me and Jake are going to be doing a lot more together, because he is going to be a co-host on 2 new things on the channel. My other stream that I used to do, which was called Television Chronicles with Mr. Tony of the Dead. Tony's now decided he wants to step away from that particular project. So Jake's kindly stepped up, and he's going to be the co-host. And at some point, the next show we're going to be talking about is Fallen Skies from Netflix. It's a show that came out a few years ago. It was inspired and it was executive produced by Steven Spielberg. So we're going to be reviewing that.
Yeah, it came on TNT. That's a channel that was on in America. It was a TV show. It's like a alien apocalyptic show.
Mm-hmm. So I'm on to the final season, Jake, so I'll have to arrange a date to get back to. And another thing I'll be talking about, Jake, is that me and him are also going to be doing it's a new segment. It's a brand new segment debuting on the Entertainment Headquarters called What You Been Watching. What You Been Watching is very simple. It's a simple concept. Him and me will get together once a month, and basically I'll ask him that week or throughout the month what films he's been watching, and he will showcase the DVD or Blu-ray collection and just talk about the film, maybe the context of like that particular box set, whatever floats the boat. But that is what's coming up on the Entertainment Headquarters. And as Jake also mentioned, the next entry in the Kaiju Connections is going to be, I think I'm going to make it Kronos.
Oh, nice. Like I say, hopefully I can join with that one, because I mean, wouldn't mind talking about that one.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, for me, it's a bag full of good stuff, although I don't know if it's that good of stuff. This Saturday I will be joining I will be joining up with the professor, Mr. Daniel Miller, and we will be discussing a film called Outland, which is a kind of it's a 1981 film that's basically a sci-fi version of High Noon. It stars Sean Connery, but it's one of those films that doesn't get talked about much, but it's something that's worth watching. I'll put it like that. And later the next day, which is Sunday, was on the 17th, I will be getting with Anubis, Mr. DJ Anubis, and we will be discussing the aforementioned Kronos as a spotlight creature that he does on his channel once in a while with different people, and we kind of break down the madness of what this creature and why we like it so much, so forth. So we'll be discussing that. Then later that month, I will be. I'm not for sure. I mean, I'm not for sure going to do it this week, this month or not with the Kronos. But later that month, I will be discussing the 35th anniversary with Anubis again, and hopefully Neko, and we'll be discussing Thelma and Louise. And I have to say that film has a special place in my heart because um, since this is Mother's Day, it's one of those films where I got a chance to spend time going to the movies with my mom when she was able-bodied and able to do these things. But like I say, special kind of thing for me. So that's okay. And later, early June, and hopefully it'll be a good round table with people. I'm going to do something crazy talk about, which is top 10 favorite monster sound effects. Basically, anything that you can think about in terms of
Godzuki is number one.
Yeah, okay, well there you go. But I have to mention this. I mean, hey, whatever floats your boat. But yeah, anything that floats your boat. But it's basically a top 10 where it's kind of like when we did the top 10 favorite kaijus, exempt, not including Godzilla, because Godzilla hands down would probably win it every time in terms of sound effects of a kaiju war. So whether it be Japanese, Western, British, any plus part of the planet, what's your favorite kaiju sound effect in terms of roars? We're going to be discussing, and I'm hoping that a certain people will be attending. I know you guys will probably be able to attend. I mean, I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But I'm hoping that some other people will be attending. But if not, hey, it'll still be a good roundabout kind of thing. So I mean, that's the fun part.
And just an update. Obviously, May's Kaiju Connections film discussion was, of course, the Giant Claw. So in June next month, we're going to do Kronos on the 12th.
Okay, cool.
Just in case you wanted to know the date.
And I think too, that talk with you and Anubis talking about the Abyss, is that still on for that Friday before?
I've got that down for the 5th.
Okay, I'm hoping that I can attend that one because I wouldn't mind.
Sorry, the 5th of June.
Because that's my favorite. Before he went blue, that's my favorite James Cameron film. So, but anyway. But
he did not get into pornography before.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't get that. You like say, what are you before he went blue? Say, yeah. Anyway, that's. That's why I say anytime when I get these guys like this together, we have a great time, and I love it. So that's the thing about this. But this has been a great discussion on Tokusatsu Corner, and like I say, we've had a blast. I'm glad that you gentlemen were able to attend this and give your overall thoughts and process on this film because, as I say, thankfully this film didn't fade away into obscurity because if it had, we would be having discussion right now.
Yeah,
so.
I'm just glad they found it, they refound it, they rediscovered it.
Right.
And it was able to be salvaged for it to be able to get like a wide release.
Well, anybody who wants to watch it, check it out. It's on Tubi. It's also on free on YouTube. It's there. So check it out, I would say. But as that being said, as you know me, as I always close out with these things, y'all take care. Y'all please be patient. Before I say my signature thing, happy Mother's Day to anyone who's watching, because I feel like without the mothers, it wouldn't be these others. So, but with that being said, as I always close out, I always say, keep the kaiju love alive. And y'all take care now, all right?